Welcome back to the Idle Talk Mini. If you just came from the last one, this is the mini for Yellowjackets Season 2, Episode 1. And I'm going to look up the fucking episode title name because I didn't know what the episode title is. This episode is titled Friends, Romans, Countrymen. So 2 months into the winter, the survivors cope with falling rations, low morale, and their latest disastrous attempt to freeze a teammate out of the game. We pick up. It's 2 months later. The group is dealing with the aftermath. Everybody's kind of like moved on at this point except Shauna. Shauna feels this immense guilt of what she said, what she did, who she is as a person. Shauna, if you're listening to this, you fictional character, you're a fucking bitch. Anyway, so Shauna is in the meat shed. She's obviously the one equipped to handle the meat, to cut the meat, to skin the animal, whatever they have. So she's responsible of doing that. The girl with the trauma is responsible of doing that. And we see her sitting in the meat shed with Jackie. She's having a conversation with Jackie. Oh, wait, Jackie's not dead? That's so crazy. Anyway, they're having a conversation. She's like, hey, anyway, how did this happen? Like, between you and Jeff. Like, I just want to know. Like, just let me know. Like, what happened? How did it start? So she goes off telling her, the story, how it happened, why it happened, because of the party that they were at. And, the cops came, they tried to bust the party. And so they all went their separate ways. And so she ended up with Jeff alone. And then Jackie's like, oh, that's crazy. Like, who made the first move? I mean, it's like, she's like asking these kind of questions. And then realizes that Shauna is the one who's initiated this, not Jeff. Which typically it's usually the guy that, does the starts the cheating, right? But it was her. It was she initiated that situation. And Jackie's like, what the fuck? That's fucked up. Da da da. Anyway, Shauna looks over at something like to kind of like feel less shame. She turns back and it's Jackie's dead body. To like still being very well preserved because of how cold it is. But Jackie's dead body is in the meat shed with her, and she's having a conversation with Jackie's dead body. Her kind of like ghost, her Obi-Wan, I guess. Her projection of guilt is activated, and she's having these conversations with quote unquote Jackie. So that's what Shauna's dealing with in the past. Misty, Van, and Lottie, the crazy bitch, who's now kind of like in charge. They got like a little cult going on. There's a symbol that they rally behind, like very cult-ish. Natalie is a realist. She's like, this is fucking dumb. Fuck this. She's like not really taking it seriously. So Natalie and Travis were the hunters of the group. They are the ones equipped with the gun that they can use to hunt. By the way, they found a gun in the cabin that they're at. Some guy was dead in the attic, so he clearly was like a doomsday prepper, prepping for something. But so they go out and hunt. But now, as they go out and hunt, right, that's how they built their little relationship, and that's how they had that little drama and involving Jackie fucking him later on. But they're out looking for his brother Javi, and I left him out because he doesn't really have a story except that he would ask Shauna for some paper to just write. Like he wanted to start journaling and shit. So she gives him the paper or whatever, and then all of a sudden, after the shrooms incident, where the fuck did Javi go? Because Javi was hanging out with the girls. He was just there vibing with them, just laying on the ground. And that incident happens with Travis. They chase him, blah blah blah, and then Javi's nowhere to be found. 2 months later, Travis hasn't given up hope. He's trying to find Javi. He really believes that he's alive, and Natalie's like talking to Coach Ben. And she's like, I don't think he's alive. Fast forward a little bit, everybody's like kind of like eating around the fire, and they make a joke about Misty like being at the food. Be like, yo, you drugged us. In reality, I'm like, you stole Misty's drugs, so you drugged yourselves. Anyway, Travis starts having a panic attack, and Lottie does this weird thing where she puts her hand on his chest and calms him down, and he's like having this kind of vision or something, or he or she, I don't even know who's having this vision at this point, but she tells him, don't worry, Javi's alive, I can tell. And then Natalie, the realist she is, she goes up to her. She's like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about? You can't just fucking say that and give him false hope. That's fucked up. Like, what if he's dead? You don't know. You can't guarantee that he's alive. And Lottie's like, I'm not. I am just saying what I feel. This is what I felt in that moment. And then the episode kicked off with this super cool scene that I kind of wanted to get the little backstory out of the way, but it kicks off with the girls being found, and they're going through like an airport, and like the press is outside on the runway waiting for them to board their plane. They board another plane, and then we get some of Lottie's backstory, what happened to her after this incident. So after they get home, her parents are concerned, like she's doing this weird stuff at the house, like she's not sleeping, she's not eating. So they put her in an institute, and that's what we see from the past. And we catch up with the girls in the present, and they're um, kind of like living life goes on. You know, they finished their major plot point of last season. Taissa is a governor or something like that, or senator or some shit like that. Um, she's still going through this rocky relationship with her wife. Her wife, at the end of the last episode, she found this weird room where there was like a doll, like the dog's head was there too, a heart or some kind, and so she thinks Taissa is responsible for that. And it's possible that she is, because one of her major plot points, both in the past and the present, was that she was a sleepwalker. Okay, and I don't think that's true. I don't think she did that. I think we're seeing the handiwork of Lottie Matthews, because let me tell you, I told you I described this group as a cult, and I truly believe that it is a cult, because we get her introduction as an adult. She's kind of leading this like wellness retreat thing. She's like working on your issues type of stuff. And so what I think behind the scenes is that she's still fucking crazy, and she's got these people doing crazy shit for her. And so we catch up with Natalie, who was kidnapped, and guess who she was kidnapped by? Lottie. Her girl Lottie had her kidnapped, and she's like, oh, you know, one of the people who kidnapped her talking to her like, oh, we didn't want you to hurt yourself. I mean, clearly, look, we got here just in time. Like, you were gonna do something. And as that's happening, Misty has her own little like detective thing going on. So we get a cool scene with her and Shauna. They're the only two that showed up to this little meeting point where she was kind of like quote unquote interrogating Shauna like as a cop, you know. She's like, hey, you know, your responses to all these answers should be and never change. They should be, I want my lawyer here. I want my lawyer here. And she's like, I even wrote it in the cookie. And she shows a big ass cookie where she says, ask for your lawyer. So I think that was a little funny interaction between the two. But then we split them off, right? Taissa's dealing with her family issues. Natalie's kidnapped. And what's Misty doing? Well, Misty's like, I haven't seen Natalie in a long time. Like, I can't believe she left. I can't believe, like, she's gone without saying anything. So she goes and she fucking investigates, right? And as she's investigating, she's investigating this thing for Shauna, where she's like, you know, our plan was foolproof. We didn't miss anything. Nothing. There's no way anybody could, like, figure this out. So she goes on Reddit, the Reddit that she's a big participant in. And this is how she got her detective skills, right? She's like digging online, doing research, whatever. So somebody comments on a post about this guy missing, Adam, and she downvotes his fucking post, which I thought was pretty funny. But so she's on her own plot point. She goes off. She's like looking for Natalie. She goes to the motel where she was staying, and this guy straight up tells her like, "Hey, if you've ever stayed here, you didn't. I have bad memory. My handwriting's even worse. Like, this is a fucking discreet place. I don't give a shit what you do, why you do it. Like, we're fucking discreet, and my memory's awful." And then she ultimately gets the information out of him, where she's like, I could wait here all day. I have 2 off days back to back. Like, I brought my own book, and I got a big bladder, so I don't care. I'll just wait here all day. So he tells her like, hey, I don't know where she went. She just left money for the bill and left. So she goes off to investigate her room, and she notices, and she's in her room, she's like, oh, it's clean, whatever, like nothing's out of the ordinary. As she goes to leave, she sees something, and then it kind of prompts her to look towards the door, and the door, it's clear that somebody had kicked in that door, and she has that aha moment. I knew everything's not what it seemed, and we cut that plot point right there. We go back towards Shauna. So Shauna is telling her husband, Jeff, about, like, the stuff she's concerned about. So she goes into her safe, boop, 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 takes out her journal, takes out her things, and she takes out his wallet, and she finds a picture of herself that he had drawn. And as she's taking his stuff out, she notices his keys, and she thinks that he has an art studio somewhere. And her and Jeff, that's their plot point, to go and check it out. So they find it. Shauna was telling Jeff, like, oh, I was so worried you were going to cheat on me, and I ended up cheating on you, but I kind of like the thought of you cheating on me. You kind of turned me on a little bit. It's insinuated that these guys are about to have sex. They fucked each other really hard, and then but we cut like to it, and it's like Jeff is zipping up his shit, and Shauna's like Jeff, and he's like don't want to talk about it. So what I think is that he couldn't get it up. He was like he either fucked the shit out of her, or he just couldn't do it. He just didn't like hearing that, like being in that studio with her with his wife's boyfriend. So my sister, she had the funniest reaction. She was like, "Not me feeling bad for a man," which is true because I feel like Jeff, he was responsible for the blackmail back in season 1. I'm not sure if I answered that question before, but he did it. Yeah, he did because I said it because I brought up his furniture shop. So he is responsible for that. They fucking killed off Adam like by accident. And so he's like, yeah, I know I made a mistake. Like I did this is really my fault that this guy's dead. But like I just don't like hearing like the shit about you or whatever. So once they get home, like they get all like the evidence and they're about to burn it, right? So the license goes in there, her journals, her years worth of journals, by the way. She kept everything that had happened to the group written down in a journal, which is the craziest shit ever, that nobody fucking stole that or had that leaked or whatever. But she does that. She burns that evidence off. They're enjoying like dinner. The daughter's still pretty fucking pissed at her mom, and the fact that her mom cheated on her dad, and the fact that she was like, "I'm gonna tell him." And Sean was like, "I already told him." We fucking went on. Like she doesn't tell her daughter this, but she's like, "We fucking went on crimes, destroying evidence and shit. Like we're good. Like what? I don't know what you're talking about." And the daughter's really pissed. And there was a scene with the daughter. She goes into the grill and she like goes through the charcoal and she finds the conveniently placed piece of Adam's unburned driver's license. And so I think we're leading up to this daughter doing something unfathomable and ratting her parents out, which would be the craziest shit I've ever seen on TV so far. But that's the end of that plot point. And then we go off. We're back in the past. I regret to have mentioned earlier when Shauna was having this little weird hallucinogenic moment with Jackie's dead body. She ultimately shoves her. She shoves the dead body. It falls down. It hits its face on the ground, and it kind of like deforms a little. And Shauna's like, "Oh no, 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 no!" Like, oh, she's like stressing out. Like, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. Da da. She picks her up, and then she rips her ear off. Jackie's ear off. She puts it in her pocket. And this episode, when I told you in the last mini, I was like, "This is the craziest episode I've ever seen." Shauna later at the end of this episode, right towards the end, the last scene is she grabs the fucking ear and eats it. Just, and it's been a whole day already, and it's been in her pocket. She fucking eats it, and the episode ends right there. There's a plot point I regret to have skipped, but it's Natalie's plot point. She ultimately like gets free, runs away, and then they find her in the fucking woods, and then they just Lottie's revealed there. But that's not gonna pay off until next episode, I believe. So that's why I kind of like didn't really touch on it. But the fact that fucking previous younger Shauna just eats Jackie's ear, I think that's gonna start this whole cannibalism arc, right? And let me tell you this. In the first minute, I told you she's pregnant with Jeff's kid, and I told you I hated Shauna and Jeff's daughter. But Shauna and Jeff's daughter is about 17 years old. This baby would have been 25 years old, not 17. Cannibalism mark? Let's fucking find out this season, because at the end of last season, I told you they went to a high school reunion, and it was the 25th anniversary of that plane crash. Shauna and Jeff's current daughter is only about 16 or 17 years old. She's approaching the end of high school. What happened to that baby? What happened to Jackie's body? We don't know if they ever had a funeral for her. Did they eat Jackie? Did they eat that baby? Ultimately, we'll never know until later on this season. But it's interesting, and I think this is a little like theory that I have going on, that Shauna has stunted herself at that age. I think she just never really grew from 16, 17-year-old Shauna. I think she kind of mentally has stunted herself, and we can kind of get like a little bits and pieces if you go watch season 1 of like, why is a grown woman acting like this? Why is a grown woman doing this type of things? So, because she goes on dates with Adam, the dead guy, and it's like fucking high school type dates and shit like that. Ultimately, I think she stunted herself as through this trauma, and I'm excited to see where they go, because it's it's a big theme in the first season where everyone's trying to find out what happened. Even at that point, they're like, "Come on, let us know. Tell us. Are you gonna reveal it?" Da, da, da. Somebody's shopping around like, "Oh, let me get a book deal." Da, da, da. This, that, this, and I think it's pretty cool that so far, either the only people that know about this still are Lottie, Taisha, Shauna, Jeff because he read her fucking journal, Misty and Natalie, and Travis. But Travis is dead, clearly. He had that little suicide mystery that they were on, trying to figure that out. But we don't really get to hear about any of the other people there. But clearly, if they are still alive, it's cool that they have this kind of trauma bond where they're not going to talk about it, no matter how much money is on the table or no matter what they do. But yeah, that was the first episode. It was a very, very crazy episode where just the ending is what made it crazy. The fact that she ate the ear, and that kind of just like the girl responsible for rationing the meat just ate her dead best friend's ear. Is she going to, without consent, get the group to start being cannibals? Is she going to start mixing in Jackie's dead body within the bear meat that they have? Who knows? But I'll let you know when I find out. This was season 2, episode 1's kind of, as it's still fresh in my mind as I'm trying to figure out what I just watched. Hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you go watch it. Honestly, if you listen to that 30 fucking minute like mini I dropped today, go watch season 1. I didn't do it any justice. I tried to recap it all in 30 minutes and I couldn't. But go watch it. Good show. And it's coming from me. I've never been the type to watch these kind of shows, but it's been really fucking good so far. And I only say good because if you have Hulu, you can watch the whole first season and not have to wait for the episodes. But I think if you were watching it as you were waiting for episodes, it might have been good-ish to okay, you know. But now that you have access to the full first season, I think if you just watch it start to finish, it's gonna be a great season for you. But I'll see you tomorrow for Night Talk Mini. Peace.